Here's Navarro on the run. Navarro's going to keep it. Navarro for 6. Touchdown, Bobcat.
I feel I had a hard time staying in my own lane.
Oh my goodness! Red Murdoch, pick 6.
Harvath inside the 30, the 20. Blake Harvath will score.
And Mendoza takes a big hit. He never saw it coming. Trey White got in there.
There's his man, Rucker. And nobody's going to catch him. Goodbye.
Intercepted. Tyree Skipper. Touchdown. Telly again, why not? A step forward and make it 2 for Telly.
Quarterback keeper. Showing off the speed. Steps on the gas. Untouched.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive, where we bring you the G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I'm Luke. No Justice today, as he had some surgery today. So it is just me, solo. So I'm going to do my best. I'm doing everything today. I'm taking the timestamps. I'm doing all the slides. I'm going to try my best to interact with the comments here. If you guys have something to say, I'll try to get it out there. Doing it all today. So big load on my shoulders today. But if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, give us a follow, a like, and a retweet. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. Let's move on over to our Sun Belt Conference and our Week 12 in review. We have our Thursday game. We have Troy versus Old Dominion. SportsCenter was live from ODU campus from 2 to 3 p.m. Justice was on camera with his signs multiple times. So if you got a chance to check that out on our X page. The campus was electric. He says there's lots of excitement for SportsCenter and the game. Goose Crowder would make his return. However, Tucker Kilcrease would start. We would not see Goose until the third drive for Troy, and Kilcrease got banged up in the first half. He did not return. That was that shoulder injury talked about in the news and notes section. Troy's defense in the first half was that kind of bend, don't break. 24 of the 44 ODU plays were in Troy's territory. However, they only had 20 points. Troy snaps were just taking like too long to get back to the quarterback. ODU just seemed to live in the backfield. It was a record-setting night for the ODU defense. Troy was held to 9 first downs and a new program record for total yards allowed in a game with 138. Their 9 sacks set a program record. And it felt like this game was over at the midpoint in the second quarter after Colton Joseph rushed it from 11 yards out. It's 20-0 ODU. However, if you thought there was any type of opening or the door was open just a little bit, it was closed early-ish in the third after Colton's second rushing touchdown of the evening. Put ODU up 26-0 with about 9 minutes to go in the third. ODU rolls in this one 33-0. It was ODU's first shutout since 2017. In that one, they beat Charlotte at home 6-0 on November 4th, 2017. This ended Troy's 154-game shutout streak, and ODU becomes the first Sun Belt team to ever shut out Troy in a conference game. ODU's defense held Troy to 26 rushing yards on 34 attempts. This ODU defense was lights out. Coming into the season, we thought it was one of the best linebacking cores in the nation. Definitely a talented defense, and they put it all together this week. This marks the first time ODU has reached 7 wins since 2016. And now let's move over to our Saturday games. Marshall versus Georgia State. Jordan Simmons would take it 92 yards to the house to put the Panthers up 7-0 early on. TJ Finley would be intercepted later in the first by Jadarius Green McKnight, and Marshall would turn that into 7 points to tie things up at 7. In the second quarter, Carlos Del Rio Wilson would throw for a second touchdown or would throw for 2 touchdowns, and Georgia State would tack on 3 points as it was 21-10 after the first half. Georgia State would score on a Finley to Georgia State would score on a Finley to Hoyler touchdown and convert for 2 to bring the Panthers within 3 with about 3 minutes to go in the third. However, a Marshall field goal and then another Carlos Del Rio Wilson touchdown pass would make it 30-18 with about 7 minutes to go. On Georgia State's next possession, Finley would run around. He would lose 8 yards and the ball as Marshall recovers the ball and would win this one by a final 30-18. Let's move on over to this one. We won't spend a whole bunch of time. App State at number 20 for James Madison. From the second to third quarters, JMU scored on 5 of their 6 possessions to make it 37-0 after 3. This JMU defense is for real. They held App State scoreless until the 10:48 mark in the fourth quarter. App State only had 24 yards of total offense before that scoring drive that ended with 3 points. At that 10:48 mark in the fourth quarter. That's unbelievable. They had 42 yards on that drive, and at that point, it was 44-3 in favor of JMU. JMU rolls in this one 58-10. JMU has now won 8 straight. South Alabama at UL Monroe. In the first quarter, Bishop Davenport fumble that was recovered by Noah Flemings, ran it back 42 yards for a touchdown. South Alabama is down 14-0 early on. At the half, it was 14-7 in favor of UL Monroe, and South Alabama would score 3 touchdowns with their first 3 possessions of the second half to take a 26-14 lead. Aiden Armento would throw an INT, and South Alabama would proceed to eat up some clock as they had a 12-play, 43-yard drive that ended with a punt. However, it took up 7 minutes and 36 seconds off the clock. South Alabama would come back to win this one after spotting UL Monroe 14 points as they scored 26 unanswered and win this one 26-14 for the final. Now, let's move to Texas State at Southern Miss. This one final did not see this one coming. No Braylon Braxton in this one, so Landry Lady would get the start, but Southern Miss defense had no answer for Texas State's offense as they scored on 5 of their 6 possessions and would take a 27-0 lead into the half. Southern Miss would get a touchdown towards the end of the third, but Texas State would respond with a touchdown of their own and then intercept Landry on 3rd and 4 on the Texas State 6, and Christopher Jones would run it back 100 yards for a pick 6. It's now 41-7. Texas State ends up winning this one by the final of 41-14. Texas State just dominated on the ground with 257 yards on the ground. Coastal Carolina at Georgia Southern. This one was a fun one. I wish Samari Collier would have been healthy for the entire game. If you like offense, this one didn't lack that. I guess maybe until the second half. There were 38 points scored in the first quarter and 62 points were scored in the first half. I mentioned in the news and notes, but Samari Collier grabbed his right knee with about 2 minutes left in the first quarter after being tackled from behind on a long run. He would not return. In the third, Coastal would score a touchdown, but were unable to get the 2-point conversion. So it was 35-33 Georgia Southern. Then on Georgia Southern's next possession, running back O.J. Arnold would find Cameron Brown for a 73-yard touchdown. That touchdown would be O.J. Arnold's hat trick as he ran for a touchdown and caught a touchdown. Now he's thrown for a touchdown. With that touchdown, Cameron Brown tied Georgia Southern's record for 3 receiving touchdowns in a game. Georgia Southern is now back up 9. In the fourth, Coastal will get a touchdown to make it 45-40. Georgia Southern with 11:32 left. However, Coastal would only move the ball 7 yards in 8 plays on their next 2 possessions, and Georgia Southern wins by the final 45-40. Bowl eligible teams. There are no new teams to add this week. We have 5 here: ODU, Troy, Southern Miss, Coastal, and JMU. let's move into our Week 13 previews. We've got a Thursday game. I think this one's going to be a fun one. Louisiana at Arkansas State, 7:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Arkansas State favored by 2.5 points. Over-under set at 53.5. I think this one's going to be a sneaky offensive game. I think Arkansas State's going to run the ball well on the ground. And I think Louisiana is going to look for Sheldon Sampson a lot in the air. So I think this is a Sampson game, and I think this is Arkansas State Rayner, and I'm blanking on the running back's name, but I think this is going to be a huge game with Arkansas on the ground. I'm going to take the over of 53.5. Saturday games, we've got, let's see here, Washington State at number 21, James Madison. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff, or Eastern kickoff. James Madison favored by 13.5 points, over under set at 41.5. I'm going to lay the points with James Madison. This defense is for real. I think this defense is going to have a heyday against Washington State. And Washington State's going to have see a lot of streamers. They're not going to like it. I guarantee they're not going to want to come to James Madison again. Just going to streamers all day, I think, in this one. Old Dominion at Georgia Southern. This one is 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Old Dominion favored by 11.5 points. Over-under set at 63.5. Depending on what ODU defense shows up, if it's the one that showed up last week, I think Old Dominion cruises in this one. But I think this could be an offensive explosion. So I think I'm going to take the over as 63.5. Georgia Southern's pass defense isn't great. I look for Colton Joseph to have a big day in this one. I think Old Dominion wins this one on the road, but I think it's going to come down to which ODU defense shows up. But I think I'm going to take over 63.5, which big number in this one. Then we've got Marshall at App State, 2:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Marshall favored by 4.5 points. Over under set at 54.5. I am going to take the over 54.5. I think Carlos Del Rio Wilson is going to go bonanza in this one. App State defense can be had. Marshall defense probably worse, honestly, than App State's. And they're probably, I don't know, they're about the same. But Marshall's going to let App State throw the ball a lot. And I think J.J. Cole, he's a statue back there. So, I mean, he's going to throw it when he's back there. But Marshall lets you just kind of pick him apart through the air. So I think I'm going to take the over 54.5 or 4.5 points in this one. I think J.J. Cole, he probably throws for over 300, probably has 2 touchdowns via the air. And then Carlos Del Rio Wilson, he's going to probably run for close to 100 yards and throw for 250 in this one. Southern Miss at South Alabama, 3:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff. Southern Miss favored by 1.5 points. That kind of leads me to believe that Braylon Braxton might not be available in this one. I find it hard to believe. I think Braylon Braxton plays in this one, so I'm going to take Southern Miss. I'm going to lay the points 1.5. Over under set at 54.5. Yeah, give me Southern Miss in this one. Georgia State at Troy. Troy favored by 11.5. Over under set at 51.5. Probably a game I'm staying away from. If I had to pick something, I'm going to lay the points with Troy. But they haven't been playing super well the last couple games after being on a hot streak. But Georgia State, only one win, has not been playing well all season as they try to figure out kind of just to get an identity right now. If I had to pick one, I'm going to lay the points with Troy in 11.5, but I prefer to not do anything on this one. Coastal Carolina at South Carolina, 4:15 p.m. Eastern kickoff in a G5 versus P4 battle. South Carolina favored by 23.5, over-under set at 51.5. I can't imagine that Samari Collier is going to start in this one, because obviously it doesn't matter for the Sun Belt if they win or lose this one. So I think I will lay the points with South Carolina in the 23.5. Then we've got UL Monroe at Texas State, 5 p.m. Eastern kickoff. So Texas State favored by 18.5, over-under set at 57.5. That's a big number for Texas State, but UL Monroe has really struggled this year, so I think I will lay the points with Texas State, but I do not love that. Probably avoiding this game if I can help it. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. On X, give us a follow. And if you're listening to us in Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please subscribe. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. We're so grateful for the amount of support we've received, and we sincerely thank each and every one of you. The G5 Hive website's out there. I know a lot of you subscribed about that for those who play college fantasy football. We appreciate you. We appreciate the feedback. Again, word of mouth is the best way to help us grow. Retweet our stuff, like our stuff. Those 5-star reviews, they all help. Like, subscribe. Be sure to join us next week as we discuss what happened in Week 13. We look forward to what's coming in Week 14. And as always, bring you up to date with the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.
Go!